Welcome back to episode 13 of the Electrified Marina podcast. I'm your host and producer, Brooks Lawson.
And Erick Pinzon from Electrified Marina.
Today is September 7th, 2025, and this show is brought to you by us at Electrified Marina. Please check out electrifiedmarina.com and call or email us if you decide you have any interest in buying a new electric boat or repowering your current boat with an electric powertrain. The best way to interact with the show is to post comments in the comment section on YouTube. Erick, why don't you kick us off with some announcements?
Yeah, I don't think we announced it last time we did that range test on the Velar. It was pretty dang impressive. Hydrofoiling assist catamaran, 60 kilowatt hour pack, and we did 33 miles on one charge. And that was with a damaged prop, and it was like normal conditions. I mean, we had headwinds at times. There was a 10-mile-an-hour current at one time. So we were out there on the rivers in Charleston, and it performed amazingly well. I'd be safe to say you could get around 40 miles on a full charge with that thing. We ended it a little early, right around 10-15%, but it's damn impressive for that size battery on a boat. By the time this airs, I guess we'll be in Monaco. Jeff, you and I will be there. But they've got an unveiling coming on the 9th, which will be pretty exciting, their 2026 lineup. And I'll be over at Cannes for a day just on the 11th and hopefully get some content and some boat rides there. And we're dialing in Lake Anna and Annapolis boat show. We're going to have a Halavai there. We're going to have the Velar there. We're going to have a flagship pontoon at Lake Anna, which will be pretty nice. That's a boat that I haven't ridden on before. It's going to do really well, I think. And then, we'll have some Taiga jet skis there, but should be getting quite a few butts and boats at the next two events.
Today's guest is Jeff Butler, the lead editor and publisher of plugboats.com, which continues to be a key player in the electric boating space, especially when it comes to education and brand awareness. So, Jeff, I want to take a couple minutes, introduce yourself, tell us about how Plugboats got started.
Well, sure. Well, I hope you've got a long broadcast.
We got an hour.
Oh, perfect. No, it won't take that long. It got started because I was interested in solar energy, and I was following a university team that was doing a solar car race across Australia. And I did an interview with them. And so I followed their Twitter feed, and I saw this thing called the Monaco Solar Boat Challenge. And I live in the city of Toronto, Canada, which has a natural harbor. And I thought, wow, that'd be a great thing to have here. So I talked to the people at the city and at Ports Toronto. They were excited about it. Then I talked to students, and they said, well, that'd be interesting, but we all know how to build a car. You just basically take a plank and put some wheels on it. But, a boat needs to go through water and has hydrodynamics and things. So anyway, I wanted to find out more about electric boats so that I could report back to the students, and I couldn't really find any information about it. That was late 2018, and I thought, well, nobody else is writing about electric boats, and my background is as a writer and director and creative director in advertising, and I've done over the years everything: radio, television, websites. And I thought, well, if nobody else is writing about it, then I'll start writing about it. And that's how it got started. And at the beginning, I didn't really know anything about electric boats. I didn't know anything about electric motors. So I kind of triple checked everything before I published it, so I didn't look like a total fool.
I think that makes three of us.
Yeah, seems like I've convinced some people. So here we are a few years later.
So were you a boater before, an electric car guy before? Like what?
No,
was the
no.
catalyst?
So I was just out on a boat the other day, and I thought to myself, I'm a cottager. Now I know in the U.S. some people call them cabins, some people call them cottages. So I'm not a boater. I never grew up with boats, but had a cottage when I was an adult. So I'm a cottager with a boat, not a boater. So I knew about boats because if you have a boat, then you know that you need to know how to fix it when nobody's around and things like that. And I was always interested in them. Everybody around us in the cottage are keen boaters and things, and so you get into it. But the electric aspect, no idea.
Way cool, man. It's crazy how many people in this space, like myself, are absolutely new to it. And it's kind of interesting because like without that influx of this outside I don't know, personnel that came from like unorthodox backgrounds. It's like how much of this would still be going? So many of these founders that I've met aren't these hardcore salty dogs. And honestly, if they probably were, they might have stayed in their lane and not shifted much in terms of innovation.
Well, I would say so because when I first started talking to boat builders about the doing something with the students, so it was 2018, right? They looked at me like, I had three heads. Oh yeah, oh electric boats. Oh yeah, we'll
Yeah.
get right back to you on that one. And as I tell people, when I first started, I had to hunt for things to write about all over the internet. And now, I get six things a week. Here's what I've got planned. I've got a new motor. I've got a new boat. I've got a new hull. Everything. Well,
Yeah.
you know what it's like, Eric. I mean, it just keeps coming.
It's funny when we do our newsletter and it's like monthly and my marketing girl Ashlyn will be like, "Hey, what should we talk about?" I'm like, "God, it's been a whirlwind. Like I have no idea what came from the last month." But no, it is. It's something exciting almost every day, man. It's a lot to keep up with. And honestly, between you and I think it's Pierre over in Europe, you guys like cover I'd say like 99.9% of the industry. And I love I don't know. I use you guys for updates, and it's funny because my assistant helps filter my inbox, and she knows when your email comes, like, don't delete it. Like, I need to read it top to bottom first because, like, it's good stuff in there, man. I just read the one today. It's good.
Yeah,
Um,
there's actually that took a long time to do because there's 70 electric boat exhibitors at Cannes this year. And as I said in that article, only 3 years ago there were 39. So it's almost doubled in 3 years. And now it's
man,
still, there's still 700 exhibitors there. So 770 is still only 10%. But, in 3 years, yeah, it's really coming along.
I mean, just to say 10% is absolutely massive when you look at like market penetration. And I always relate things back to the automotive world. But for how long it took the automotive world to get to even a couple percent of penetration, and obviously it's like exponential growth as well. But that's amazing to hear. 39 to 70. That's huge.
Well, that's at every show. I mean, at Boot Dusseldorf, at the Metz Trade in Amsterdam. I don't think at the Florida shows it's not quite as dramatic because it's still Europeans had a head start on electric boats, about a 20-year head start because of the fossil fuels. Were banned on a lot of lakes there, but North America's coming along, so you can see it. It's the early stages, and that's what happens with everything, right? Slow growth, and then it gets going.
That's it. I tell everyone they got a huge head start on us, and I mean you can really see it with whether it's boat manufacturing or just the tech and the stuff that they're putting out. But I think American boat builders are finally catching wind and seeing some of the light, whether they want to or not. I don't think they're going to be able to deny it for much longer with how many awesome boats are getting out there.
Yeah, I especially think in certain boating categories. But Europe. I shouldn't say Europe. You can't talk about a whole continent or a whole country as one thing. But I think it has their more tradition of a more slow boating thing. Like let's go out and have lunch and go and visit some people, and then maybe drop a line and things. And in the U.S., you have that, of course, in lots of the inland lakes, and then you have some other kinds of boating on some of the coasts. So, and we've talked about it before. It's kind of horses for courses. So, I think that for some of the pontoon boats and things like that, I mean, they're just ideal for electric boats. And I think you're going to see great growth there.
Yeah, and it's interesting, man. When we looked at all the marketing metrics that we heavily analyzed this year, electric pontoon was one that we absolutely missed the mark on. And we had a couple stock, we had a few in inventory in the beginning of the season. We sold out of them right away, and we got another 15, 20 requests for them throughout the season. And when it's June, July, and someone's wanting to buy a boat, they don't want to wait 2 months for it. And so we had a ton of missed opportunity from the pontoon boat market. And so we're going to be I mean, I'll probably have 20 boats, 30 boats in inventory next year. It'll be pretty big.
Yeah, I mean, if you think of it, you go out on a pontoon boat. What do you want to do? You want to be talking with your friends and laughing and listening to some music, having some food. So you want it to be quiet. You don't want a stinking motor in the back, and and you're not in a hurry to go anywhere. You're in a hurry to have a good time. Just cruise around. So it's the ideal application.
That's it, man. What over the years, I mean, you've obviously probably I don't know, in terms of the industry, you've probably seen more than anybody in terms of duration and volume, with just your coverage and everything. And I'm curious, what are you most excited about right now?
Um, I there's lots of exciting things. I think Taiga with the jet ski, I think is an exciting thing. I think that there's a lot of opportunity there for people. I'm excited by some of the new hulls. You mentioned Voltar, and there are others. D'Antonio in Europe does it, um, and also eForce Marine in Florida, where they have a kind of catamaran hull with a static foiling system. So it doesn't require all kinds of technology to have an active foiling system to raise the boat out of the water and keep it stable. It's just a stationary system, but it raises the boat enough to really add to the range. And there's a few things like that. There's the Pete Step hull and some other things that I think are going to be adopted by a lot of people.
Yeah, and it's interesting too. We was talking to the Volar guys, and they said, talking about just hull design, and nobody's ever really needed to optimize it that much because fuel efficiency wasn't ever a big concern, or if it was, it
Buy more
didn't matter.
gas.
Right, right. Just put a bigger gas tank on it. But now, like, it is absolutely crucial. Or carbon fiber versus fiberglass, or some of these, whether it's weight or hull efficiency, like it is up the utmost important. Same thing with the automotive world. Aerodynamics and weight savings became huge, and now they're pushing the limits on drag coefficients. It's pretty crazy to see.
Yeah, yeah. I think the other exciting thing is you're seeing the higher power motors really starting to come on, and not just. I think when they first started, like it's a new industry, right? So people were like, "Oh, I'm going to build an electric motor," and then you find out that actually the electric motor is pretty significantly tied to the battery and everything else around the boat. So now people are realizing that, and so these new higher, by higher I would say above 50 kilowatts, 75 horsepower, up to 200, 300. They're not just working on the motors. You look at like Flux Marine, right? And so they've been working on the battery. How can they reduce the resistance of the battery so that the electricity can get out quicker and get back in quicker and keep the heat down? So all those innovations are coming along, bit by bit. And I guess the other thing is it's not exciting, but it's kind of necessary. Is that everybody's now looking at every little piece of the boat. Where can they shave a little bit of weight? Where can they get a little bit of an advantage on the temperature or the output or input of the battery? All these little things make a big difference, and not just for the electric boat world, but for boats in general. Everybody, maybe you have gas in your boat, but you still like to save money and not use as much. So they all make a big difference. So it's not exciting, but altogether they're making a big difference.
Yeah, I think it's exciting to us, like the nerdy people that like find that kind of stuff. We can appreciate that. I was looking at the hull on that Volar, and I was like, man, carbon fiber. They're like, yeah, the whole thing weighs 8 pounds. And it's like, man, this whole T top weighs 8 pounds. And I was with Frank on the Halavai, and we were looking at the hull, and they were all just he's like prioritizing hull efficiency, and that's why it looks like that. And you've never seen another tri hull setup like it. And it's just to have the like least amount of wetted surface in the water at any time. So it's pretty neat where I don't know, kind of where it's shifting things.
Yeah, I haven't been on that Hullabite, but I mean, he was working on it for a long time, and he first contacted me, I think, about 4 years ago, and he was working on it there, and I think he did a really good job of getting everything together and saying, okay, this is going to be the experience that I want to deliver to people. You know, it's not unique, but it is tailored for his product, and he's done a great job in pulling together all the different people that on all the different companies, technologies that can do that. You were talking about a light one. I was going to say there's a thing called Kaibon in Germany, which is a really cool looking carbon fiber boat. It looks like a 1930s racer, but with a modern take on it. Really smooth design. Anyway, the whole thing weighs the whole boat. Now, without the motor and battery, weighs 89 kilograms, which is less than 200 pounds, and it's a 16 or 18-foot boat.
What?
Carries two people. Oh yeah, yeah.
How
Yep.
do you spell it?
Look at plugboats.com and you'll find it.
There we go.
Uh, Kaebon.
I got it
Wow.
right here. I'll pull it up for you.
It's called the EB Irons. Yeah, no, it's a sweet looking thing. And yeah, the whole thing's less than 200 pounds.
Man. Yeah, I was chatting with a powertrain company about foiling and the manta ray came up. Whoa, that is a slick looking boat.
Okay.
Have they
Yeah, it's
built any
cool.
or is it just prototypes or
No, well, no, he's built some. He's sold a couple, and now he's doing a foiling version.
whoa, full
Uh,
foiling or foil
uh,
assist?
yeah. So it's going to be amazing, and I'm going to be writing about it, but he won't let me write about it yet. He said, "Let me get it more tested," but you can see some of it on YouTube. Some of his tests. It's very cool.
Jeez. And so what's the horsepower of that motor? That looked like a little cruise like 6.0 or
He's
something.
got everything from um, I'm sorry, I get so many numbers going through my heads with different boats, but he has everything from like a 12 kilowatt torpedo, and he's tried it with a rad propulsion, which is 40 kilowatts, and I think 40 is about the highest he's gone. But with and I can't remember the motor, but with like a 20 kilowatt motor, the thing just like flies along because the hull is also designed to be almost planing at the beginning.
Jeez Louise.
Like, and again, he's a guy that was a sailing racer, and he figured it all out in his head beforehand that I want to have an electric boat. I have to take all these things into consideration. But no, it's a really sweet boat.
That's awesome. Yeah, I can't imagine what goes through your head. Like, we've got, I don't know, we represent like a dozen brands now. So trying to remember specs and motors and batteries. And if people are shooting from the hip, asking me questions about them, it's like, all right, which boat, which, is this? And like, I only really focus on what we support. I can't imagine what goes through your head because you've got like worldwide coverage. It's like another level, man.
Yeah, and I'm not a technical guy, so I mean I do the best I can. And also the other thing is like a lot of them try different motors on there, right? So
Yeah. Well, it's like the Halavai. It'll have, from 5 horsepower to 150 horsepower. And it's like just depends on your use case. So, yeah, remembering that, battery configurations, and then someone tries to ask me the draft or the beam of a boat. I'm like, no, like that's what Google's for.
yeah, exactly. Well, no, come on now, that's what plug boats is for.
There you go. Yeah. I'd start dropping it more.
I got to put in a plug there. But
Boom.
yeah, no, I mean, yeah, I mean, there's also great things that can be done with electric motors where the same motor with different software can go anywhere from like, well, there's an inboard, outboard. I can't remember the name now in Michigan. Um, a Hercules, I think. So it goes from I think 50 horsepower to 250 horsepower. Um, just by not changing the motor,
The
but by
software.
just changing the software.
That's awesome. I was actually just on a call today with a lady who wants like one of the flux powered scouts. She's like, but I don't need all that speed. And I was trying to spend less than that. And it's like, okay, we'll dial that thing down to 70 horsepower and take out a battery. So it's awesome what you can do with that. And then it's the same thing with the Taiga in terms of the modes that they have, whether it's a rental and you don't want it to put into wild mode or it's your, 15-year-old kid on there and you want them to not go over, 30, 40 miles an hour. So, yeah, it's
Well, yeah, and for Tiger, it's also great for rental places, right?
right, absolutely.
Yeah. And also, they're not boats, but on e-foiling boards, the same kind of thing.
Yeah, and that learning curve is interesting too. I've never learned, but I've seen people learning, and yeah, it takes a bit, but being able to regulate that and not have someone whiskey throttle the thing, like it's definitely a huge advantage.
Yeah.
So, Jeff, you mentioned on the email that you just got back from the Monaco Energy Boat Challenge. Can you tell us about how that went?
Well, I didn't just get back. That was a couple of months ago, but I can certainly talk about it. Yeah, I mean that was the inspiration for for me getting into it, and so I'm actually working with the yacht club to see if we can get some things happening in North America. But no, it's a fantastic, the most fantastic. Well, I shouldn't say the most, but it is incredible to see. There's 30 universities from all around the world. And so 400 plus university students that are all in, mechanical engineering, electrical engineering. They're all like kind of genius level. And they've all got their own takes on what to do with the boats, and they're interacting and just buzzing and talking to each other all the time. And so like you think about the future of electric boats. I mean, it's going to be bright. They've got, like universities putting together, hydrogen fuel cells and solar and battery and packing it all together. I mean, one place from Holland, TU Delft, which is Technology University of Delft. They had a hydrogen fuel cell and battery hydrofoiling boat in one of the
College
competitions.
kids.
Yeah, college. Yeah, exactly. And one of the teams from one of the Italian universities, I think it was Milan, they decided that they'd been participating for about 4 years. And when they wanted to go faster, they decided that they didn't want to get a motor from somebody else. So they designed their own motor. And then now it's commercially available. And I mean, for the nerdy guys, I mean, it is really, so it's got contra rotating propellers, which is two propellers that go opposite at the same time, which improves efficiency because it leaves less of a wake behind the boat. So they've incorporated that into I think it's about a 15 kilowatt, so 25 horsepower motor. Yeah, and they've got a business going, and it came out of there. Then you have the other. Let me get a drink of water here. The other thing is, it's a great combination of university students and people in the industry. So they have a job fair. So these kids get to talk to Leaf from Evoy and everybody from the leading places. So you have the job fair, and also you get to see the commercial boats up front. So the Axopar AXC 25 was there. There's a new boat called the Dama Blue, which is kind of cool because it's hydrogen fuel cell and battery. But it's made by a company that is their main business is doing green hydrogen in Spain. So they make green hydrogen with solar panels, and they decided, well, like, let's get a boat, and we've got the pipeline. So that was a cool one to be on. But the cool one was the Frauscher Porsche Phantom 850 Air. I mean, so that is a Porsche Macan SUV electric motor in it. I think it's a standard attached to a standard Mercury outboard stern drive. And we were out on that, and I mean, it's Frauscher boats. The finish on them is spectacular, and they're just known for amazing craftsmanship and design. And then you've got this electric motor on it. So at one point, the Sebastian, the driver, he said, "Do you want to go a little faster?" So we were out there doing 89.5 kilometers. So that's basically 60 miles an well, just under 60 miles an hour in a boat, and it was like steady as a rock. Yeah, it was fantastic. So I'm trying to remember now what else was there. Somebody's gonna get mad at me because I didn't mention them, but no, that was a highlight.
I always get worried about that stuff too, man, especially when we've got boats at a show and, I'll do a walkthrough video and I get 4 out of the 5 and the 5th one is out on a sea trial. I'm like, whoops, someone's going to get mad.
Well, yeah, in that case too. I mean, it doesn't sound like it was in the first week in July, right? But as we were saying, like, what happens in 8 weeks in electric boats is like you just can't remember everything. That was cool also because I was at the E1 Electric Speedboat Championships at Lake Maggiore in Italy, so that was a lot of fun too. So that's all wrapped up in the memories also.
That is awesome, man. Yeah, you mentioned the college kids that they host a promoting electric propulsion event, the PEP event here,
Hmm.
and either Virginia Beach or Portsmouth. But I went and we did support for them, and I was in between heats. I was in the parking lot out there and talking to some of these kids, and these guys are diagnosing, cooling system problems or battery discharge problems, and it's like just chatting with these kids. It's like this is going to help amplify the electric boat space more than anything. Because in terms of like engineering brain power, there isn't, you look at automotive versus boats and we've got like a fraction of it. But these kids that are on these teams and pushing the boundaries while they're in college on like a, shoestring budget, it's like, what is that going to look like in the corporate world when they get with some of these boat builders? It's amazing to see what's going to happen.
Yeah, and you hear a lot of marketing people say, about the market for electric boats is at younger people, which is, anybody younger than me. But no, the next generation have no interest in fossil fuel cars or fossil fuel boats. So you get a combination of them saying, "Well, I don't really want to work on fossil fuel motors, but I want to work on boats that go fast and go places." Then you've got a great combination because they're building and designing for their peers, and they understand what they want and what they need.
Yeah, I was just at a beach. We had the boat tied up, and a guy's like, "Oh, it's not as fun because you can't tweak them and modify them." Like, no, 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 you can. It just takes a different skill set. Whether you're tweaking amperage or, like you said earlier, reducing resistance, whole design, like, there's a lot more you can do. It's just not, dumb where you can just like throw a supercharger or some turbos on it. Like, it takes a little more knowledge than it is just to throw parts at a thing. So it's going to be interesting to see where that goes because we're seeing it in the automotive world and it's pretty neat. Guys are pushing the limits on some of these motors, and it's like, how far can you push it safely before it, overheats or grenades?
I was going to say the other thing that I saw at the Mets show last year is that, like, small, high-powered motors, the pancake, axial
Axial
flux,
flux, yeah.
and things like that big around that are like 100 kilowatts. 100 that's 130 horsepower. Like, you can
Yeah.
hold it in your hand. I mean, it's heavy, but you can hold it in your hand. But there's about six of them doing that exactly, not exactly, but like along the same lines. Try and make a 150 power gas motor that is the size of a dinner plate.
Right, and it's amazes me about those. They just stack them. It's like, oh, you want more horsepower? Like, let's made another one. And it reminds me of rotary engines in the gas world. It's like, oh, you're crazy enough. Let's just throw another on there. Another fifty
Well,
thousand
that's what.
bucks.
Yeah, that's what Evoa does, right?
Yeah, yeah, we've got the
They
Chris
just
Craft in our parking lot, and that thing,
yeah.
I mean, just screams, man, 40, 45 miles an hour, and I think it's rated 420 horsepower. But it is an absolute amazing boat. It's just when you're doing 40 miles an hour, it's thirsty. It drains a lot of electrons. So, and I think that's the next phase of this stuff is.
Well, the other thing, sorry, that I forgot about was the speed race. Oh, that
Oh
was
yeah,
fantastic at Monaco. So, Explomar, outboard motors from China, that high power, that they do an excellent job, and they've got some innovations in batteries as well. So they hooked up with a Dutch company called Extender, and Extender specializes in ribs for tenders for super yachts and things, right? So they took one of their ribs. They don't only do ribs, but they took one of their ribs and they put the Exclamar, I'm going to say 150 kilowatts, so like 200 horsepower on it. And so on the race, so they race about, so I'm from Canada, so and the race is in kilometers, so I'm trying to get it back and forth to miles. So let's say about, it's probably about 20 miles, about 10 miles there and back to go to Italy and back. And so at the end, they were coming back to the finish line in Monaco, and they're out in the sea, so you can just like kind of see them getting bigger on the horizon, bigger. And the Evoy motor, Life was driving it on the Axopar. It was maybe 100 yards in front of the extender Explamar one, and at the very, like, with 25 yards to go, the Exclamar just pipped them right at the end. They, like, it was like a photo finish. Everybody's yelling and cheering on the dock. And the other great thing was afterwards, they were all like congratulating each other, and a little bit of chirping. But I think the industry's at the point now where everybody's glad that somebody's, like, you're doing well. That's great. We're all in this together right now. So, and, it's a cliche, but a rising tide lifts all boats. It's really like that in electric boats.
It's exactly what I was gonna say, man. And in terms of that, it's not us versus each other. It's us versus the fossil fuel world because there's enough meat on the bone for. I mean, it's whether it's manufacturing or dealerships or any of that. It's like the amount of opportunity is endless. When you're talking a multi-billion-dollar industry, there isn't going to be just a handful of companies that take that on. It's going to be dozens.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Especially as it grows. So yeah,
Jeff, what can you tell us about the Gussies? What are the Gussies?
So the Gussies is so when I started Plug Boats, about a year later, actually just about on the anniversary. I started in February. In March of 2020, we all know what happened. So anyway, I thought I was fascinated and still am fascinated by the whole subject of electric boats and everything, and kind of similar to writing about them. I thought, there should be awards about them. So I started awards, and we had 3 categories at the beginning. And because it was COVID, it was just an online vote. So we probably had about 20 boats in, I would say. And then it grew. I think the second one was mainly um, online as well, because COVID kind of hung around, remember, for a while. So anyway, then it was starting to get to be. It could have been manipulated just by, like, I got more Instagram followers than you do. So I said, okay, well, let's have the people that have already won. Why don't we have a judging panel with them? And also there's lots of national electric boat associations around the world. There's about 10 of them. So and in England and France and U.S., Spain, can't remember them all, Canada. Um, so a lot of them have been around for a long time. So I got the presidents of those places, and I said, let's get all the old winners, the past winners, to be the judging panel. And so every year since then, it's gone up and up. So last year, I think there was 120 boats. There's now 9 categories. So yeah, maybe 100, maybe 150 boats. And this year there'll be 35 judges. So it's really, there's still a component of a public vote. But really, it's one of the few, I think, boat awards where you are really judged by all your peers. And I think that's one of the things, because the industry has been growing. This wouldn't be possible with regular boats. This is just kind of being organic because people got added. But it really is a good measure of how you're doing within the industry. And it's kind of neat also because different judges like different things. Like, there's one judge that I just know that he's always going to vote for the solar boats because he's a solar boat fanatic, right? So I go, oh well, he voted for that one. But it's interesting to see them change as the votes come in from the judges. So funny you should say that, because actually they are going to start. The nominations are going to be opened next week. I'm going to Monaco to see the launch of the Taiga, and also to Cannes to formally launch the next Gussies. That'll be the 6th International Electric Boat Awards. They're called the Gussies. They're named after Gustave Trouvé, a French guy who actually invented the outboard motor. He had done an electric motorcycle. This is in 1873. Done an electric motorcycle, and just wanted to do an electric boat. And he lived in Paris, and the boat was on the river, the Seine, and he'd have to take the motor back to his workshop every night, and or he'd have to go down and work on it every day. And he thought, I want to work on it at night. Why don't I invent a way that I can take it home and work on it? And that's how the outboard came along. Excuse me. So it's named after him. So yeah, the nominations are going to be open in the next few days. That'll be announced in Plug Boats and in the newsletter. And I don't know how many awards there will be, or how many boats will be nominated. I'm sure it'll be somewhere near 150. And I'm actually adding a new category this year of kind of lumping in personal watercraft and scooters and electric water toys and e-foiling boards, just into one kind of new category. I'm sure as that evolves, it will go into a couple more categories, but that's an exciting new category because there's a lot happening there.
Can you give us some examples of the kind of traditional categories you have?
So there's under 8 meters, 26 feet, over 26 feet, electric sailboats, electric workboats, and commercial passenger boats, which could be anything from like the Candela carrying 12 to 20 passengers, or Artemis, up to a huge ferry carrying 200 people. And then in three of those categories, there are subcategories for boats under development and boats under production. Because one of the goals is to make more people aware of what is happening in the electric boat industry. So I didn't want to, and how big it's becoming. So I didn't want to just isolate it to saying, oh, well, the boat had to be launched this year. It was, you've got a great design, then, put it in the design aspect of this design subcategory. And the Envigo boat, I don't know I think you've been on that, Eric, the hydrofoiling Envigo one.
No, I
Anyway,
haven't.
it was a winner of the of this in design last year in under 26 feet. So yeah, I guess there's 10 categories in all now.
It's amazing to see the growth of it in such a short time.
Yeah, and when I show it to, well, I'm sure you must have the same thing, Eric. If you talk to friends and they say, "Oh, electric boats." Well, I mean, how many can there be? And I say, "Well, here's a link to the Gussies," and they go, "What?
Yeah,
Wow."
and it's funny too because when we started this, I wanted to be brand agnostic and represent everybody that's got a viable boat on the market. And we wanted to do the same thing with outboards, but it got to the point where it came down to opportunity costs, and we can't represent everybody. And I mean, I've got a list of a half dozen to a dozen powertrain companies that are like, "Hey, partner with us," and it's like, "Hey, let me get some breathing room first. Like, let me sell some boats and get a warehouse and a showroom and really stabilize a little before we entertain everyone under the sun." And I was looking at Mets this last year and at the amount of companies that are there, and it's just like there's going to have to be some consolidation because there's just so many people jumping into this space. And it's going to be interesting to see how long people last in terms of sales volume, or on the startup side of things, it's how long can they afford to not make money. But it's going to be a super competitive space, especially in that, I don't know, sub 50 kilowatt category, I think.
Yeah, I would say even in the last 5 years, or 6 years that I've been covering, the there has been a consolidation, and also at the beginning, I'll call it the beginning because it is the beginning. There were, I mean, there's lots of companies that have been around for a long time um, in the electric motor world. But there were, especially I think with COVID, people sitting around going, "Hey, it'd be cool to make an electric motor." And they kind of dropped by the wayside. So what I see now is the people that are entering the market are much more considerate about the reality of it, and it's not going to be, oh well, we'll just make an electric motor and the world will be at a path to our doorstep. The ones that are coming now are really well thought out, and doesn't mean they'll all be successful, but it's different from it was even a few years ago. It was a bit Wild West. Now you're getting the real contenders.
Yeah, it's like the stakes are higher, man. I don't know, like pseudo consulting for different companies that are coming to market, and I should start charging for it. But I spend a good amount of time saying, like, hey, don't forget about X, Y, and Z. And some of the stuff that we're just spoiled by, it's like, hey, you need to have a mobile app and you need to be able to adjust the amperage of it. Whether you're at a marina somewhere or the charge level as well. Like if you're getting ready to winterize this thing and you forgot to adjust the charge level down, you should be able to do that, and it needs to happen from an app because everybody's spoiled from the automotive world that's a very normal thing now.
When you think about you've been in the electric or in the automotive world with both kinds of engines. Um, but when you think about, and I explain this to people that have gas boats, that because it's electrons, like everything can be monitored all the time and changed all the time. And you give them some examples, and they go, "Oh yeah, wow, I never thought of it. Oh yeah, that's just like an electric car. Yeah, why wouldn't it be the same in an electric boat?" So I think that's actually an important aspect. Yeah, you're more on the front lines of what the consumers or questions are asking, but I think that's an important aspect of one of the benefits of electric.
Huge, and being able to do that remotely. Any other boat out there, and there's times I bring it up to our clients when they call in with a concern, and we'll talk about something, and it's like, hey, we just fixed this over the air. Imagine if this was a conventional boat dealer. You had to take the thing, put it on a trailer, drag it to them. They'd probably tell you we don't have a fix for it right now or attempt a software update. But there's times we can recognize something ahead of time and say, oh, yeah, that's a known software bug. It's coming out here in a week. And then a week later, it's like, hey, just make sure it's got good cell signal or Wi-Fi. And by the way, your watercraft just got better. And like there wasn't a charge for it. Like it literally gets improved. And it's in terms of the software side of things, I think so many people, I don't know, they don't have the right expectations of what it can do. And I was even jaded by it. I started life as a mechanic, and we're having a vibration. This was early on with the Model S, and we were having a really bad vibration from the AC compressor, and they were notoriously loud. But there was always like a peak RPM that induced the worst vibrations through the motor mount, the subframe, and everything else. And we were working with the NVH team, with the team that I was on, and trying to figure out different stiffeners, different dampening, different NVH blankets. So think of like a sound deadening blanket that went around it. And the software guys were like, "Hey, what if we just tweaked the pulse width modulation and the RPM, and instead of during that ramp up and the RPMs, like, what if we just skipped this part right here?" And they skipped like right over, I don't know, it was like 3,000 RPMs, and it skipped over 3,100 and like quickly accelerated past that. And the vibrations weren't as bad. It's like we just fixed an NVH, like a vibration problem with software. And it was just like mind boggling.
If, I don't know how we're doing on time, but I'll tell you an amusing story about that Porsche, Frauscher Porsche
Yeah.
Phantom 850 Air. So when they first launched it, I was talking to the engineer from Porsche who had worked on it, and he had to marry the Porsche Macan engine with the. I'm sure it was a Mercruiser Alpha, maybe not an Alpha, but it was a standard Mercruiser stern drive. So I said, well, like, how was that? Was there problems with that, with the the different torque and spin and everything? He said, I said, what about like the clutch? Like this tells you how technically aware I am. Like I just call it a clutch. Wherever they meet, I call that a clutch. How was that? He said, oh, that was easy. He said, we just put it on and then we'd spin it until it breaks. And then we'd, lower it. And then we'd say, okay, that's too much. Don't spin it that hard. And we just kept bringing
Kept
it down
breaking it.
until it went, oh, that seems to be about right. It doesn't break it. He said the hardest part was the software, because the software was made for a car. Before it would even start, it had to check whether the doors were locked with like all the.
Seatbelt, passenger was in there. Like, yeah.
And so they didn't have any of that on the boat. And so the software was going, I don't know how to start because none of this is happening. And well, you would know again more than me, but that code, that stuff was hidden in like various parts of the code. It took them like 2 months to finally get rid of all that stuff before they could get the boat really going like they wanted.
I believe it. And then like you just throw in like the traction control side of things, when it's monitoring like a motor output sensor and then four wheel sensors and a yaw and a pitch, and like you're telling this motor to perform based on all of these inputs, and then you take away like 97% of those inputs. Like it's got to be a nightmare, I'd imagine.
So, Jeff, what do you foresee happening in the industry in the future as far as tech and advancements?
Um, if I do that, I
Take a
think
guess.
you.
Yeah,
I
where are you
mean,
investing?
yeah, exactly. The batteries are the thing, right? I mean, that is going to be key to a lot of it. And I'm actually amazed because I always think that there's incremental advances in batteries, but then I look at Bloomberg and I find out that the cost went down by like 15% last year, and the energy density went up by 16%. You go, oh, I didn't realize all that happened. It's like happened bit by bit. Everyone's waiting for the big breakthrough, but meanwhile, great stuff is happening. Um, you know, on just
Progressively.
accumulating. I think that, I think solid state is going to be a big, game changer. But the other thing is just, this incremental everything of lowering the weight, getting a better hull, more efficient everything, better batteries, better motors, just making the experience all around a better one. Um, I The one thing I would predict for the future is that, and you've seen it, Eric, when people get on an electric boat, they go, "Wow, this is cool. Oh, we can just talk. I don't have to yell. There's no rumbling. There's no stink." And then you're out in it for a while, and your gas boat goes by, and you go, "Wow, man, can I ever smell that?" So I think that will be. It sounds pedantic, but the most revolutionary thing will be as more people get them and get into more marinas, and more people go, "Hey, do you mind if I go for a spin with you?" and get on it. They'll go, "Wow, this is cool." And like the use case, there's never going to be a point where there's enough battery to compete with fossil fuels. Like it's
Oh,
just,
never say never.
oh, okay, not in the next short term.
Yeah.
Right. So, but people that have the right use case, that don't want to go, 20 miles out in the ocean at 60 miles an hour, um, they're going to find an electric boat and go, "Man, this is fantastic. This is way better than I thought." And I think more people are going to realize it through education and experience, that when they think they're going out in their boat for 2.5 hours and going at full throttle, they're actually not doing that. And they'll find out that an electric boat is actually really good, even for, where, sometimes we think of it as, oh, not good for speed and distance. It's got plenty of speed and distance for like an inland lake. You want to go water skiing for a little while and then go back in, tootle around, go fit. Like, it's got plenty. And the more people discover that, that's going to be the thing that really gets it going.
Well, I think we do have that technology actually today, like right now. The only
Yeah, but
problem
people
is that
don't realize it.
it's not cost effective yet. That's what they have to work on, is making it, cost effective, because it's so expensive. But we've seen, advancements from like BYD with like 500 miles of range and charges in like 5 minutes, and it's insane. Several, like 1,000 kilowatts. It's really crazy.
Yeah, and it's so, and you look at like economies of scale and where that goes, because even if we get like these amazing production ready solid states that come out tomorrow, like for that to make it into the boating world, it might take a couple years. It's going to go in so many other avenues before it trickles into pleasure boating. It might get into military stuff first or government stuff, but like for us to get it in the consumer market, like it's going to take some time, especially for the ramp up just of production. So it's, we've got, I think it's solid state that has like semi-solid state batteries, and the energy density is better, and the Volar guys are going to put it in their boat, and it's going to be pretty absurd. I have a feeling that thing will get 70, 80 miles an hour at 20 miles an hour, which will be, I think, best in the industry.
Right. Yeah. I mean, what more do you want? Right. I mean, where are you going?
Right, right, and you mentioned a second ago, in terms of never competing, and there's guys that talk to me, on social media, and it's like, oh, I need to go 100 miles offshore and a 20% reserve. It's like, dude, talk to us in 10 years. Like,
Yeah.
give us a follow, but like, it's not worth the conversation right now. But you're also like the top extreme of boaters. Average pleasure boating is right here, and then there's some people that do water sports all day long on the extreme side, and then there's deep sea fishing. And don't get me wrong, like that's a big part of some markets, but that's not the average. And people think they have this, I don't know, this anecdotal evidence of like, oh, everybody around me does that. It's like, yeah, there's nothing else to do. Like you come to my waterway and everyone goes to the sandbar and the beach all day long, other than the offshore fishing guys.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Like on the coast. Yeah. They go, at a fair rate out of the sandbar, hang around.
Yeah,
Right.
we had
And
the
it's the
boat
same on
in.
an inland lake, right? You see everybody going by, but they're just going by fast to go to somebody else's cottage and hang out and have dinner, lunch, and
Right.
and the whole lake is only 20 miles long. Like, where are you going to go?
Right, right. And it's like, unless you're on like Lake of the Ozarks, that's 100 miles. Like the
Right.
average lake person is staying relatively local. You're not going 3 hours to your favorite cove. It's funny, we're at Lake Anna, and everyone kept talking about Cocktail Cove, and it sounded super cool. And at the end of the day, our rides were done, and they're like, "Hey, let's go for a ride, grab a drink," and we all pile on the boat. And we go like right around the corner. It's a 1, maybe 2 minute ride, and there is dozens of boats just lined up. I was like, man, like that was like 3 minutes. Like your boat wouldn't even have time to warm up, let alone getting over here. But it's like, imagine doing that. I mean, even we put the boat in on Saturday, and we went to a different boat ramp, and we wanted to go to the sandbar, and it's usually on the further end of the waterway that we go to. And it's like, I say further end, it's like 10 miles away, but there's a bunch of no wake zones, so it takes a while.
Right.
And we put it in at the boat ramp. And as soon as we pull out of the boat ramp, it's the sandbar right there. And it's like, do we go just park on the sandbar? It's like, I just want to anchor out all day. Like, we kind of want to go boating a little. So we went back to where we normally go, to the beach. And it was, I don't know, 5 miles away or so. But like, there's a lot of people that we saw go straight to the sandbar. It's like, man, you could have brought over a kayak or something. But it's so funny to see how some people's use cases are so different.
Yeah, and yeah, well, see what I mean. There's also, from the car industry, there's, there's people that like the certain cool factor of some fossil fuel boats, but there's huge cool factor to like the electric boats.
Yeah, and the market that I think everybody is sleeping on is the people that are getting into boating because of it. It's almost half of our buyers are first-time power boat owners, and like we're small potatoes right now in terms of volume. But imagine 5 years from now when we're making thousands of boats per year, and half of them are still to brand new boat owners. So like, what does that do to the boating sector, and how much does it expand it? Because like, there's a huge correction still from COVID, but also, like you said, people aging out that aren't boating as much, and especially sailing. But it's like, maybe this is what the industry needs to keep it exciting and alive as this next generation gets into it.
I think one of the other things is, when we're talking about the advantages of electrons over atoms, when you think of those self-docking things, right? I mean, for an electric boat, you say, okay, I'm going to build it from the beginning to be self-docking, and it's all going to work. And so for a family, where I'm not going to mention sexes, but maybe one person loves to drive the boat and does it all the time, and the other person is maybe a little intimidated. Well, I'll tell you, Sailing Uma, which is one of the
Yeah.
biggest YouTube sailing channels, 450,000 viewers. The woman, she doesn't like docking the sailboat. She says, I'm intimidated by it. So they're getting 2 new ocean volts on it. So it'll operate more like a catamaran dock. And she's like, I can't wait for that because I'm intimidated. She's been sailing around the world for 8 years and she's intimidated. But to get back to my point, for a family where, maybe one person doesn't like going into the dock, or, not a problem. It's just like your car now. Close to the dock, press here.
Yeah.
All
And
done.
it's interesting you mentioned that. When we had our rental fleet, there was a very large number of females that were renting boats, and that's not historically that's not the same. But when it's electric, it's like all you do is push this button to turn it on. There isn't like no that barrier to entry, that knowledge gap or that curve that's usually there with a gas engine, the complexities of it, just what you're doing, and it's like a lot of that goes away now. So it's I don't know. I feel like same with regular powerboat owners, or new powerboat owners, that barrier to entry in terms of experience and knowledge. Obviously, you still need to learn about boating and the rules of the water, but in terms of your own powertrain, it's like, oh, it malfunctioned, do a reset. And it's like, okay, it's back up and going. And, it might be a bug, but it's not like, oh, bring out your tools and check your fuel system and your water and, all those headaches. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that. And we're getting a lot of interest right now from boat clubs.
Yeah,
And
that.
whether it's the learning curve or the maintenance and the downtime from it, because when you've got 20, 30 boats and rentals are using and abusing them, you're constantly going to have boats down, replacing engines, doing overhauls. And it's like, what if you didn't have that? And like the perfect example of that is like the Vision Marine cocktail boats. We had bought in some of their boats from their rental fleet in Newport Beach, and
Mhm.
they had e-propulsion E80 batteries with the little pod 3.0s on them. And we looked at the serial numbers of the batteries and the motors, and it was all original. And you're like, these things are in Southern California, probably on the water, 250, 300 days a year getting used. And these boats, when we had them, were 7, 8 years old, still original batteries, still running at like 80, 85% of the life. And, that would be the equivalent of, I don't know, 40 years, 50 years for the
Yeah.
average boater in terms of cycle counts. So it's kind of crazy to think about how the like longevity of this stuff and how it's going to hold up. And I think boat clubs we're going to see a pretty big shift as soon as the pricing gets down. That's the blocker right now. Those boat clubs are usually they're used to getting boats at for peanuts and then having
Oh,
a
is that
lot
how
of
that works?
margin in them.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the buying power they get from their national, whether it's Carefree or Freedom, they usually get boats cheaper than the dealerships do, and then a year or two later they sell it, and they don't get bent over on depreciation. But with electric boats, we don't have 60% margins, 50% margins in a boat to give them. So I've tried cutting myself out completely, and it's like, hey, I'm getting rid of all of my profit in this, but I need exposure and I hope it's going to be a lead generator. And I haven't sold one yet to a boat club in terms of the higher horsepower side. Plenty of rentals in the
Yeah,
lower
yeah.
5, 10 horsepower stuff.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know that about the boat rental or boat
Yeah.
club
Yeah.
business. Makes sense.
I've got a couple I'm talking to that they see it's coming. They drive electric cars, and some of these guys want to be the first. So we've got some meetings lined up that hopefully we'll start talking. And some of them that own the marinas, it's like now we're talking about putting fast chargers in and like this whole ecosystem of exposure that absolutely has to happen.
Well, that's about our time. But Jeff, before we go, do you want to kind of give any shout outs, any kind of websites or social accounts or any kind of parting statements?
Any plugs?
Any plugs? Yeah, no, pluggedboats.com. The slogan I have is everything electric boats and boating. So there's news and articles about all the new stuff. There's buying guides to all the motors. So there's outboard motors under 5 kilowatts, over 5 kilowatts, and a comparison of all the well, I shouldn't say a comparison because I haven't tested them, but it just tells you what the power is and what batteries they use for inboards, outboards, sailboard, sail pods, sail drives, everything. And there's also the classified marketplace of boats and motors for sale. And also a directory of the directory is now it's the all anybody in the electric boat business around the world. It's almost at 800 now of not that might be manufacturers, dealers of boats or motors or whatever, uh, batteries and things. But yeah, so yeah, everything electric boats and boating, pluggedboats.com. I said, think of a tugboat, but you plug it in, pluggedboats.com, and all the social media is plug boats. And that's Facebook and Instagram and what's the other one? LinkedIn.
Yeah, I love what you're
Very
doing,
good.
man. I tell everyone the biggest challenges in electric boats right now are education and awareness. And, I tell people we're one of the biggest catalysts in the industry in terms of boat rides and sales and exposure. But in terms of information and education, I think, between you and, Justin from Aqua Electric, like
Yeah, yeah.
there is such a pivotal role that you guys play getting the word out there and educating people because so much of misinformation's been peddled, by the fossil fuel industry, whether it's the automotive world or boating world. So we have such a long way to go to educate these people. So really appreciate what you're doing, man, and excited to keep working together in this space.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I don't want it just to be the Mutual Admiration Society, but you're really important. No, because you're going up and down, doing all kinds of shows and actually getting people in the boats, which I mean, I can't do that. And as I said, and you said before, when they get in the boat, they go, wow, this is cool. So together we'll get this going.
What's
I
in
love it.
boats?
That's it. With our powers combined.
Perfect. Great. Thanks so much, you guys.
You've been listening to Electrified Marina podcast brought to you by Electrified Marina and electrifiedmarina.com. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, please share with your friends and family. Please leave comments, questions, feedback, or potential guests in the comment section on YouTube, and that will help us to reach more people and spread our message. Thank you for watching and listening.
Thanks, guys.